There is no doubt that this game deserves a 9 out of 10 from me. You know, I just hope Sega can find the time to make another game in this series and maybe place it on the Vita, or even better yet, the PS4. But that's just one dream that's probably never going to happen. And with that, I bid farewell to the Valkyria Chronicles franchise. Maybe the gaming gods will grace us with another entry to the series. Oh man, I am so glad I was wrong back then. Thank the gaming gods, Valkyria Chronicles 4 is actually a thing. So after 7 years since the release of Valkyria Chronicles 3, we finally get a sequel to the beloved series. I never would have guessed that Sega would actually find the time to make another mainline Valkyria Chronicles game. I certainly never expected to be releasing so soon. Announced in late 2017 to everyone's shock, Valkyria Chronicles 4 looks to be released in late March for Japan and then later on in the year outside the land of the rising sun. However, Japan did get a demo for Valkyria Chronicles 4 recently, and luckily for everyone outside of Japan, the PS4 is not region locked, so you can easily gain access to the demo yourself just by looking up how to create a Japanese PSN account. So of course, downloading the demo, it's all in Japanese, so the story segments will fly over most people's heads, and some objectives for the 3 battles featured in the demo might be a little bit unclear. I know personally I had some trouble figuring out how to complete one of the maps. It's not too much of a big deal if you just search out YouTube, Reddit, or GameFAQs how to finish the map, and it's really not that hard. Now, I'll say this first and get it out of the way. You do not need to play the other Valkyria Chronicles games to understand what is going on in the latest entry. The stories are all separate for the most part. I'm sure some characters from the previous titles will be mentioned in this game, or hell, even make a slight appearance. Hell, some characters from other games will more than likely be DLC. Seriously, I can only imagine the DLC content for this game with new playable characters to be immense, because there's just so many characters they can use as DLC from the last 3 games, and I probably will end up buying every single one of them because this is one of my favorite JRPG series of all time. I did it with Persona 5 and I can't imagine me not doing it here. Anyway, the demo gave us a glimpse of gameplay of what to expect from the full game when it releases. For people who have never played a Valkyria Chronicles game, I'll try my best to fill you in. Valkyria Chronicles 4 is a strategy RPG, so in most strategy RPGs you have a selection of characters you can place on the map, and when it's your turn, you can move these characters, or as I'll call them from here on out, units with command points, or CP. You get a finite number of CP at the start of each turn, and whatever CP you don't use gets carried over to the next turn. When you use your CP, you can control the character and move them or fire their weapon, use a grenade, or whatever special item or action they might have. When moving units, you have a limited meter. Once that meter runs out, you can't move. So it's best to set up your units in good positions, preferably near cover. You can move the same unit in the same turn, but their meter will decrease with each use. Now, the units you have at your disposal all have different classes. You have your scouts who can move fast and far, allowing you to see what enemies are ahead on the map and attack normally. Shock troopers are still, in my opinion, your bread and butter. They can't move as far as a scout, but they can handle most enemies' threats with their machine guns. Lancers can take out enemy tanks and other armored units. Your own tank unit has a good meter of movement and can deal with almost anything, and can act as a shield of cover for your units. You have your engineers who can replenish ammo and healing items to your units, and they can also repair damage to your tank. And then you have sniping units who... Okay, look, do I really need to explain the job of a sniper? Keep them out of danger and away from enemy units, and headshot anything that's stupid enough to get in the range of your sniper. Now, you also have your new to the series Grenader class, who can fire off grenades at great distances. Even when it's the enemy's turn and they start moving, the Grenader can fire grenades from a distance. They make for great defenders in keeping the enemy at bay. Your objectives on each map will be to take an enemy base, get your units to a certain part of the map, or kill all hostiles. Now, for the most part, that is the general way Valkyria Chronicles has gone with their objectives, but I'm seeing more of a different types of objectives with this demo, and they might change it up here. When it's all said and done, Valkyria Chronicles 4 setup is basically the same as any other Valkyria Chronicles game, and that's not really a bad thing. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm looking at you, Valkyria Revolution. Oh my god, what a stupid game. You disrespect this entire franchise with your dumbass existence. I hate Valkyria Revolution. It's probably one of the worst games I've ever played. I mean, the game is so freaking experimental with its goddamn... Whoops guys, I'm sorry, I lost a little bit of composure there. Let's move on. Like I said, the setup is pretty much the same as any Valkyria Chronicles game, but this latest entry seems to be borrowing more from Valkyria Chronicles 1. As I was playing the game, I was always saying to myself, wow, this is almost exactly like playing Valkyria Chronicles 1. From the graphics to the book menu to how the story is presented to how your units level up, everything reminded me of Valkyria Chronicles 1. Seriously, this almost feels like Persona 4 and Persona 3. Back before Persona 5 was released, people would often ask me if they should start with Persona 3 or Persona 4 first. Many people agreed it didn't matter which one you start with. They're both really enjoyable games with relatively the same setup. That's how I feel Valkyria Chronicles 4 and Valkyria Chronicles 1 are going to be now. Not only that, but Valkyria Chronicles 4 feels so much like Valkyria Chronicles 1. I feel this is the game we should have gotten way back in 2010 when Valkyria Chronicles 2 was released. I mean, there isn't much I'm seeing from the demo that Valkyria Chronicles 4 couldn't have done if it was on PS3. Sure, you have more attention to detail when it comes to the graphics, but that's really it. But this is just a demo, so who knows how the full game is going to be, and maybe I should hold my tongue until then. But at the end of the day, I am ecstatic to play a new Valkyria Chronicles game, or I should say a proper Valkyria Chronicles game after all this time. I simply can't wait to get my hands on a full version when it releases in English sometime this year. So let me hear from you. Will this be your first Valkyria Chronicles game? Will you be getting it for PS4 or perhaps the Switch? Did you play the other Valkyria Chronicles games? Did you download the English patch for Valkyria Chronicles 3? I really want to hear from you. In the meantime, check out my other videos on the channel. Right now I'm doing a playthrough of Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, probably one of the hardest JRPGs of all time, and it's going well. I'm getting a little frustrated, but at the end of the day, I always come out on top. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.